Lalu 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 lalu. Oh, it's recording. Hey girl, hey. All right, so chapter 5, we're at Ray, Arai, Ara, Aria, Rai. Anyway, chapter 5. I love you, sweetie. I just got done with a leg day, and I'm so tired. I'm finna cry, and I hurt so bad, but that's okay. So if you hear me heavy breathing or something like that, just don't worry about it. Anyway, back to the adventure. Chapter 5. The college shirt I throw on is scratchy and uncomfortable, making me suddenly miss the days when I was young and it was socially acceptable to run around half naked. Though, that's never stopped me from doing it now. After slipping on one of my only pairs of shoes not currently caked in mud, I stride over to the door. I pass messy shelves that threaten to tip from the weight of far too many books, my desk that is currently covered in documents that I'm avoiding, and the four-poster bed jutting out from the wall, the cause of several stubbed toes and the incessant swearing. Sighing, I close the door on the comfort of my room, wishing desperately that I could dive onto my bed and sleep through the dawn. Alas, duty calls, and it's best not to keep him waiting. I shove my hands into my pockets as I stroll down the white halls leading to the throne room. Late afternoon sunlight streams through the windows lining the corridor, causing the ornate paintings on the walls to glitter in golden light. Far too soon for my liking. I round the corner and nod the guards standing outside the throne room before pushing open the heavy doors. Ah, Kai, it's about time. Father's deep voice echoes down the vast length of the throne room. Its walls are decorated with large windows draped in dark green silk, Ilia's kingdom color. Yo, that's my favorite color. W. Accompanied by the sculpture modeling crawling up the walls and onto the ceiling. Currently, a long wooden table resides in the middle of the polished marble floor, where the king occupies the chair at the head. Good. You put on a shirt, he sighs, but I see a slight smile in his eyes. I considered telling the servant to add that detail to the message he gave you. Don't worry, father. I won't make the mistake of showing up to the throne room without a shirt again. I memorize the hint of a smile on his face, not knowing the next time that I'll see it, the next time that I'll earn it. He's a brutal man, a brawny who is strong physically as well as mentally. He's stern, stubborn, and set in his ways, so seeing him offer even the faintest of smiles has me involuntarily returning a faint one of my own. Our dynamic together has always been difficult, to say the least. My own. What? Say the least. I might have messed that up. Let me start again. He's stern, stubborn, set in his ways, so seeing him offer even the faintest of smiles has me involuntarily returning a faint one of my own. Aha! Here we go. Our dynamic together has always been difficult, to say the least, but in moments like these, it's easier to ignore our unpleasant past. He clears his throat along with any emotion on his face. There's the father that I'm so used to. I have a mission for you as the future enforcer. I live to serve, I answer flattery. I live to kill. My life means the end of someone else's. The type of missions enforcers get sent on are anything but heroic. I've had dozens over the years, all part of my training to become the future executioner, commander of the armies, and the right-hand man to the king. Everything, from battle strategies and executions to interrogations and torture, fall into my line of work as the expected enforcer. All glimpses into my bright future. My informants know of a family harboring an ordinary near Loot Alley. Father continues, sounding slightly bored. I need you to investigate and eradicate the problem. Eradicate. Fumble. Eradicate equals execute. After the purging, when the ordinaries were banished to the scorches to protect Ilia from their disease, the king decreed that any remaining ordinaries found in the kingdom would be executed. 3 decades ago, he offered them a chance to survive if they could cross the scorches and reach the cities of Dor and Tando. on the other side where there would be no harm. But the king's mercy only lasted that day of the purging, and now I deliver death on his behalf. Of course, I say, running a hand through my hair and over my set jaw. This action doesn't go unnoticed. Kai, he looks at me, almost gently. I haven't seen that look since I was a boy, and even then, it was a rarity reserved for the few times I pleased him during my training. No one envies the job of an enforcer. It's brutal, it's bloody, but the plague has given you a rare gift. Your ability as a wielder is very powerful, and you'll serve this kingdom well one day. He paused before adding, I've made sure of that. He has indeed. Training has been my whole life, my whole purpose. Rather than having a single ability to manifest a master, I've spent years learning how to control dozens, but I honed my body as much as my abilities, becoming a weapon myself. How to use and kill with every weapon at my disposal has been ingrained into my brain, a reflex I have refined. But I can't take all the credit. No, it's the king who made me what I am today. The king who took it upon himself to aid in both my physical and mental training. After learning my weaknesses, he ensured that they were eradicated. And while I've learned to block out most memories of the training I endured as a boy, I can do nothing to ignore the images of my father's cool face paired with the same chilling words I've heard all my life. If you cannot endure suffering, you are unfit to dole it out, enforcer. Sorry, Loki, let me interject. My throat has been so whacked these past few days, so if you've heard this recording and I sound different, girl, I ain't got no clue why. Anyway, I love you, sweetie. I fought in battles, initiated interrogations, and conducted torture, all while Kit sat in on countless meetings, devised treaties, and spent his day beside the kinder king than the one that I know. His days consisted of education, tutoring, and far more pleasant time spent with father that he loved so much. As the heir, Kit's always been guarded, protected, and even getting him out into the training yard with me when we were boys was no small feat. When I look back at the king, his green eyes are always pinned on me. Kit's eyes. After father's first wife died while giving birth to his son, he married the daughter of a trusted advisor. Unsurprisingly, he quickly fell in love with my mother's caring and kindness, her bravery and beauty. I look like her, with my dark hair and my light eyes, just as Kit takes after father, both green-eyed and blonde. I clear my head, tucking thoughts of the past away until the next time that I allow myself to dwell on them again. My voice is dull when I finally ask, when do I leave? Those exact words poke at my memory, reminding me how naive I was when I'd asked them before the very first mission. Not knowing that I would become a murderer that day, not knowing that I would watch a man crumple to the floor in a pool of his own blood at dawn. Dawn comes far too early for my liking, and before I know it, I'm making my ways to the stable. The large white barn casts an even larger shadow in the morning sunlight. Fumble. In the early morning sunlight. Each wall is lined with stalls where the horses nibble on hay, looking up at me curiously. My gaze slides over to two Imperials standing on my left, accompanied by 3 horses saddled for the journey ahead of us. I grit my teeth. The king pulled 2 guards from the rotation of Loot Alley as a safety precaution, though I am more than capable of handling it on my own. But it seems that in a single night, father has grown to care for my well-being. It's only taken 19 years and the fact that I am now valuable to him. I shake my head and mount the horse closest to me, swallowing my pride enough to admit that it's wise for Imperials to be with me in case of banishment. The trip to Loot is a long one, and we pass the time in utter silence. Streets slowly turn into slums as we head further into the city, and I could smell the large market alley before reaching it. I totally just lost my place. Where are the buns? Found it. The familiar sense of fish, smoke, and other mysteries welcome me as we head on to Loot. The echo of our horses' hooves clopping down the uneven cobblestone, bounces off the walls of a run-down shops lining the street. I got you, girl. Immersion. Dang, don't that remind you of band at TJC? Dang, that's crazy. Anyway, so these horses were walking. A few early risers dart out of the way, making room for us as they point and whisper. We turn left down a smaller street jutting off the main alley and head for a small wooden shack. I hop off my horse without hesitation, and the stuff that rains into the gloved hand of an imperial, letting him deal with securing the animal. They must be here. They might as well be useful to me. I stride to the door, slipping a hand out of my pocket to knock. I hear a thud from the inside, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps before the door swings open, creaking on its rusty hinges. A huge, burly man with a thick beard and even thicker hair stares at the scene before him. I'm surprised he can even fit through the door frame. His blue eyes widen under his bushy brows as he looks between myself and the two Imperials now flanking me. Prince Kai? The man looks astonished and flustered all at the same time. What an honor. His falsely cheery voice carries down the street, like waking his neighbors as he reaches out to offer a handshake. His grasp is firm and calloused, much like my own. Nathan, correct? He nods, and I continue. I have a few questions to ask you about the ordinary found here in loot. I'm sure that's not a problem. I watch him closely, searching for any indication that he knows what I'm talking about. Nothing. His face remains utterly expressionless. Mind if we come in? It's not a question, and he knows it. I already have my foot over the threshold before he steps away from the door. This house is no bigger than my bedroom back at the palace. On one side of the room, small beds are pushed together and lined crookedly against the wall. The kitchen resides in the other half of the room, equipped with a run-down sink, a chipped wooden counter, and a large table surrounded by two wide-eyed brown boys and a woman. A large, faded rug joins two sides of the room, and the only decoration and splotch of color in this house. Nathan clears his throat. This is my wife, Layla. She smiles warmly, her white teeth contrasting against her dark skin as she eyes the Imperial shifting on their feet behind me. And these are our boys, Marcus and Ezra. Nathan points at each one of his children, naming them off. Marcus keeps his eyes pinned to the table, not daring to look at me, while his younger brother, Ezra, is far too curious to keep his eyes from darting to mine. I reach out with my power, making sure that none of them are ordinaries hiding in plain sight. My wielder ability is especially helpful as the enforcer, making my job far easier and far more efficient. Nathan is a brawny, and I'm not the least bit surprised seeing that he's a mountain of a man. I can feel Layla's power as a healer bubbling in my blood like champagne, while Marcus and Ezra both possess mundane powers. Marcus with the lie-detecting ability of a bluff, and Ezra as a hyper with his heightened senses. You know why I'm here, I say coolly. Have you seen or heard of anything about an ordinary hiding around here? No, sir, we haven't. It's Layla who says this, her soft voice steady. My eyes sweep over the house again, stopping on the sink. Bowls, still sticky with porridge, are piled within it, waiting to be cleaned. 5 bowls when there are only 4 mouths to feed. Interesting. Well, then you won't mind if I take a look around. Once again, not a question. I casually stroll through the small house, stopping every once in a while to examine something more closely. I feel the eyes of both my Imperials and the family burning into the back as I take my time peering at the home, hands casually in my pocket. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. I'm about ready to call this a dead end and a waste of my time when I step in the middle of the patterned rug, now faded from years of trampling feet. A creak sounds beneath my shoes. I stop and shift my weight, listening to the sound again. Sure enough, wood groans once again beneath the rug. Interesting. Though Nathan's face remains expressionless, The blood has drained from it, leaving him ghostly pale. Lift the rug, I said dryly to the guards, never taking my eyes off the family. And that's when I spot an emotion I'm all too familiar with, the one that intends to accompany my presence: fear. As the rug rolls back, I spot the outline of a trap door, blending it almost seamlessly with the rest of the dirty wooden floors. The thud. This is what I was closing. This is what I heard closing when I was outside. A sob escapes Layla, and when I kneel and swing the trapdoor opening, revealing a cramped, dark space below, there, tucked in the corner and hugging her knees, sits a little girl. When she looks at me, fire in her eyes matches the bright red of her long hair. Plagues, she's so young. She can't be more than 8 years old. But the girl doesn't fight me as I reach down and lift her out of the damp box. I set her on the floor while she stares defiantly up at me. Not a trace of fear on her small face splattered with freckles. I feel for any sort of power coming from her, just to be sure. Nothing. There is nothing extraordinary about this girl, because she's an ordinary. Strangled sobs begin to fill the room. No, no, no. Layla's shaky screams echoes off the wall. You can't take her, you can't. She's my daughter, please. The Imperial stepped between me and the raging family, but I pushed past them, annoyed. The boys are both sobbing now, hugging their mother's legs while Nathan looks stunned, silent tears slipping down his cheeks and into his matted beard. Calm down and tell me where the hell she came from and how long you've been harboring her. My voice is low and stern, cutting through the chaos. The little girl standing before me looks nothing like this family with her freckles and flaming hair. Not to mention, both Nathan and Layla are elites, meaning the two of them could never produce an ordinary. She's been here for 3 years. Layla's voice trembles, sobs racking her small frame. We've found her on the streets, so we took her in. We wanted a daughter. I couldn't have any more kids. She trails off, wiping at her face. I'm one of the few healers in the slums, and she seemed healthy and strong. So when we found Abigail, we finally got to have a little girl. Abigail. I wish I didn't know. Wish I didn't have to add another name to the endless list of those unfortunate enough to cross my paths, unfortunate to cross the king. I heave a sigh. Here it comes. You know the law. More choking sobs fill the room, forcing me to raise my voice. By decree of the king, all ordinaries are to be executed, and for anyone harboring said ordinaries, they are to be banished to the scorches. In the middle of me reciting the same rehearsed lines I've done dozens of times with the large solid body, charges at me. The blank stare he wore just moments ago is long gone, replaced by a hatred that contorts his face in fury. Nathan hits me around the middle and runs me into a wall, knocking the air from my lungs while bashing the back of my head against the hard wood. Oh, that's gonna hurt like the plague tomorrow. I hear a distant scream tear from Layla's throat, along with the Imperial's heavy footsteps as they run over to intervene. No! I shout at them, ducking under a punch aimed at my nose while the guards halt confused. I'll handle it myself. He throws another punch, this one intended to break my jaw. I dodge just in time to see his fist connect with the wooden wall where my face was, sending splinters flying when his hand breaks straight through. My fighting instincts take over, and I don't even bother reaching out to use Nathan's powers. With his fist still buried in the wall, I duck under his outstretched arm and pull out his wrist, twisting his arm behind his back and pressing it beneath his left shoulder. He grunts in pain before kicking back at my kneecap hard. Pain sears up my leg as he spins out of my hold, raising his supernaturally strong fist. Ignoring the pain in my knee, I drop and sweep my leg in a wide arc, connecting with his ankles and sending him sprawling onto his back. Then I'm on top of him, pinning his arms down with my knees as I finally let his brawny strength claw to the surface. Knowing that I won't be able to keep him down without using his own power against him, he thrashes, baring his teeth at me. Shut up and listen to me, I pant. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. And personally, I prefer the easy way. She's my daughter, he bellows, a look of anguish over his eyes, tries to tear me off of him. Well, clearly you have no regard for my feelings, because you want to do this the hard way. I sigh, cock my fist back, and connect with his jaw. His head snaps to the side, stunning him long enough to let me speak. If you don't cooperate, even your wife won't have the ability to heal your broken body once I'm finished with you. So, I suggest you thank me for not killing you right here in front of your family and do exactly as I say. Nathan still beneath me, the fight seeming to drain from his eyes. I shift, crouching beside him to stare down at his defeated form. Now get the hell up before I change my mind, I murmur before standing to my feet. When he doesn't budge, I add, patience is about to be as foreign to me as mercy, so I wouldn't press your luck. At that, he scrambles to his feet and steps in front of his huddled family, blocking them from me, shielding them from a monster. I keep my eyes locked on the sight of them, taking in their tears spilling down their cheeks and sobs slipping past their lips as I bark orders to the Imperials. They hurry and heed my commands, tying up the prisoners as I casually add, keep to the side streets. Clearly, I'm not in a good mood today. Feeling merciful, if you will. I huff out the words. So, I'd rather not have an audience. The Imperials grunt their agreement, smiling slightly at my idea of mercy. Within a matter of minutes, Nathan, Layla, and their two boys are tied and shuffling behind the horses. They twist their heads around, hatred burning in their gaze as they eye Abigail tied and firmly held in my grasp. They know what happens now. My reputation is rather renowned. Stories of the murderous monster murmured through the streets. This is the part where I kill the ordinary, while the Imperials escort the criminals to the scorches, where they will likely follow her into death. With its blistering heat by day and freezing temperatures by night, it's no simple feat to make it to the other side of the desert, where the cities of Dor and Tando lie. Sorry, oh my gosh, I'm having so much indigestion. I love you. Not to mention that I've just sentenced this family to try to do just that with no supplies, no food, no water, no hope. It's far more painful than death. It's a far more painful death than their ordinary daughter will suffer. Please, I'm begging you, please spare her. Layla is shouting at me between sobs as she shuffles over the cobblestones behind the horses. She's just a child. An Imperial reaches from behind her where she sits atop of his horse and strikes her across the face, cutting off her plea. Shut up, slummer. I rip my eyes from the scene, pulling the girl away and down the street. Her feeble attempts to wiggle out of my grasp would be comical if it weren't for a humorless situation we find ourselves in. She's eerily quiet for a child being dragged to her death. Most ordinaries are screaming by now, pleading and bargaining for their lives, but her struggle is silent, her stare piercing. I keep my eyes locked on the empty alleys as we head through, wondering how familiar one must be with hiding everything they are in order to hide their emotions, even while facing death. I steer us down a shadowed alley, not yet touched by the faint sunlight beginning to paint the kingdom gold. The ordinary, Abigail, squirms, attempting to twist out of my grip for the dozenth time. I look down at her, amusement cutting my voice as I say, you are a persistent little thing, aren't you? She huffs, causing her flaming hair to flicker around her face before she sends a solid kick to my shin. I would have been impressed with her form if it weren't for my growing frustration. I drop to a crouch in front of her so her angry teeth, so her angry green eyes can eat mine. Only when she lifts her leg to swing at me once more do I say softly, I wouldn't do that if I were you. She blinks, and right when I think she's heeded my warning, she stomps on my foot before trying to pull her arm out of my grasp, but with no luck. And then she's squealing, flailing in an attempt to get away from me. All right, well, we can't have that. I slip my knife from my boot as I murmur, you are not going to make this easy for me. At the sight of the dagger, she swallows, suddenly still. Just put it in my heart, she blurts with her eyes painted to my knife, voice delicate, the only way that a child's can be. I, I heard Mama said it's quicker that way. Did she now? I asked quietly. There are other quick ways as well, you know. And I knew every single one of them. I watch her flinch as I bring the blade closer to her, watch her eyes widen as she finally allows herself to feel the terror that she's desperately trying to hide. Then she takes a deep breath that sounds something akin to acceptance before squeezing her eyes shut against the face of a monster in front of her. The dagger slices, cutting easily. The girl, Abigail, sucks in a shaky breath. After a long moment, a teary green eye peeks open. She blinks as the bindings slip from her raw wrist and land at her feet. Her gaze skips from her unarmed heart to my face before landing on the dagger in my hand. Aren't you gonna put that in my heart? My lips twitch. Listen closely, Abigail. I cut your bindings, so now you have to do me a favor in return. I need you to stay quiet and stop struggling. I search her face before adding, understood? I don't wait for an answer before I once begin leading us down the street into the alleys. She must have understood me well enough, because now she walks stiffly in silence, making no move to break out of my hold. When the scorches come into view, so do the two Imperials standing at the edge of them. They pay no attention to the family that they're supposed to be watching head into the desert, now blurry figures darted in the sand. I peek my head out, behind an alley wall, watching the Imperials talk idly. Before long, they are shrugging and spinning their heels to head back down the street. Typical. I was counting on the guards. Predictable laziness and a failure to finish a task. And I hadn't wanted to banish the family parade through the streets like they typically are, because then I would have a crowd to witness my treason. Once they passed us, we slip onto the street and head for the sand. The family is far ahead, and since I'm feeling rather lazy myself, I reach out and grab hold of one of the Imperial's flash abilities. He'll be out of my range soon, so I hurry to pick up the girl and dash into the desert. We nearly made it to the family when the distance has the flash's ability slipping away from me. Nathan startles at the sound of us behind him and spins, his eyes wide when they land on Abigail in my arms. Layla is running towards us and has the girl wrapped in her arms in a matter of moments as the whole family encircling the two of them. They sob as I step aside, feet shifting in scalding sand that has begun spilling into my shoes. And then they turn towards me, eyes burned hotter than the sun beating down on us. Nathan only offers me one word, low and laced with hatred. Why? I slip out my dagger and cut the bindings around his wrist in one swift movement, meeting his gaze, as I say, I don't kill children. Hypocrite. As if that's not exactly what I'm doing. In fact, I'm only prolonging the inevitable. But at least, though, we'll all get to be together in the end, a mockery of the mercy I bestow upon children. I move down the line of stunned prisoners, cutting their bound hands free. I look at them each in the eyes, mostly still glossy with tears, before turning to the little girl, the ordinary, Abigail. I walk toward her slowly and lower myself to one knee, sinking deep into the hot sand so that way we're eye to eye. Though she doesn't say a thing, her eyes speak volume. She's only a child, and yet I see a devastating amount of determination behind her gaze. Perhaps you may not need powers to be powerful. I reach into my pocket, pulling out a small pocket knife from within. Its white handles are engraved with golden swirls, but its small blade is sharp. I hold it out to her. Every girl deserves something equally as pretty and deadly as they are, I say, urging her to take the knife. She eyes me warily before stretching out a small hand to pluck it from my palm. Use it wisely. I run a hand through my hair as I stand on my feet with a sigh. In accordance with our laws, by decree of King Edric, I hereby banish you from the kingdom of Ilia for your acts of treason. With that, I watch as Nathan puts an arm around his wife, who in turn reaches out an arm for her children to huddle into. They turn as one, and I watch as they walk to their doom. All right, I'm just gonna keep on with chapter 6. Raya. Right. Hey, I'm also gonna give you my thoughts as I go through this because I think this is really cool, and actually I really like this gift idea for you. But this is crazy. So Rye, trained killer, Kit, older handsome brother, who's um a fancy guy, and then the girl, what's her face? I already forgot her name. Dang, this is cool. Yeah, I like that Kai. I like that Rye has a heart. Rye and Kit, that's their names. Anyway, yeah, I like that he has a heart. This is really cool. Okay, chapter 6. Despite my swollen knee screaming in protest, I force myself to walk evenly. By the time I make it back onto Loot Alley the late afternoon has cast the street into a warm glow. I always enjoyed it down here. There's nothing regal about the slums of Ilia, and yet it's refreshing in a way the stuffy palace could never be. My eyes sweep back and forth as I weave through the throng of people bartering, cursing, and shopping. I allow myself a moment to take in the sights and the smells of loot, neither of which are very pleasant. Everything down here is dull, leached of color. The banners, the food, the people. By midday, the streets all smell of sweaty bodies and questionable food. But, despite it all, loot is buzzing with life. I'm just saying it could be a sign for us to go to New York. I'm not saying that is what it's saying, but let's not rule it out of the question. The crowd pushes and pulls me in different directions like a human current. Oh, that's New York. And I fight to escape the wave of people. Oh, that's New York. I finally break free and head down to a smaller, less crowded alley where the homeless crouch against the walls. Ah, that's also New York. Some begging for money while others use their powers to entertain themselves. Though the slums are mostly home to the mundanes, I spot the occasional defensive elite sprinkled among them. The purple glow of force fields engulfing a few catch my eye, as well as shimmer manipulation, the light around him into a darting beam, occupying both himself and a stray cat. I keep walking as I look around, paying no attention to the path before me. And apparently, neither was the person who slams into my chest with a grunt. Instinctively, I reach out and steady the individual before they fall over from the impact, my arms wrapping around their waist. Her waist. The body I'm holding, undoubtedly, belongs to a female, though the mass of long silver hair brushing against my arm is proof enough. She's small, but strong, leaner than most of the scrawny girls from the slums. I can feel it in the curve of her waist where my hand fits comfortably, though it's evident that malnourishment stripped her of most of her muscle that she once had. Her palm is pressed to my chest, where a thick ring hugs her thumb, and after a few seconds of my studying while she attempts to steady herself, she heaves a shaky breath before meeting my gaze. It's like drowning in the ocean. Her eyes are the color of shallow sea's deepest corner, a clear sky as it begins to drift into the night, the subtle shade of a forget-me-not. And like the hottest flame, her eyes are blue and full of fire. Her high cheekbones lead up to the equally strong dark brows, now slightly raised as she takes me in. Her ocean widens, and I watch a faint flush rise to her cheeks when she realizes how closely I'm still holding her against me. She drops her hand from my chest, and, like the gentleman I am, I slide my hand from her waist, and I smile, and a smile tugging at my lips. Do you always fall into the arms of handsome strangers, or is this just a new thing for you? I say, watching a smirk that could rival my own that lifts on her lips, despite the bottom of one being split open. Interesting. No, she answers, sarcasm dripping from every word. Only the cocky ones. She holds herself with a certain confidence that tells me there was once a time where she did not. And just like that, I am suddenly, annoyingly intrigued. Ugh, she clearly has no idea who I am. Perfect. I laugh at the remark and run my hand through my hair, doing little to tame it. She watches me closely, intensely, seeming to be just as interested with me as I am with her. Oh shoot, he's getting raw blind. I drowned in her blue eyes. Every time our gazes meet, it's like the ice meeting the hottest fire, like gray mist rising on the deep blue ocean. I look away briefly before saying, "Well, looks like I've made quite the first impression then." "Yes, though I still haven't decided if it was a good one or a bad one." Her lips twitch in a slight smile, the type that makes a man's head turn just to get another glimpse of it in hopes that it was meant for him. And that small, precise gesture alone tells me that I'm not the first she's practiced it on. Dang, he found out. Oh, shoot. My hands straight in my pockets, and I shrug indifferently as I lean against the grimoire alley. "I caught you, didn't I?" She laughs, the sound warm, yet sharp. Playful, yet pained, as though happiness isn't habitual for her. Her head tips back slightly, silver waves falling nearly to her waist as she looks up at mine, eyes crinkled with laughter. I lean in slightly, daring to close some of the distance between us. "Maybe you should consider that detail before you decide, darling." And with that, I'm suddenly curious, suddenly wondering what power she possesses, so I reach out to her ability with my own. Nothing. I, I feel nothing. I study her face as I try again to sense her power. Normally, this would be the part where I either throw the girl over my shoulder and carry her to the dungeons to be further examined, or I simply kill her on the spot, due to the mere suspicion of her being an ordinary. And yet, I don't move. "You're tired, injured. It could be a mistake." Before I have time to decide her fate, she takes a step back towards the crowded alley. "I'll keep it under my consideration, darling." She gives me a small smile, holding my gaze while continuing to back away. "And thank you for saving me from the eating cobblestone. I seem to be cursed with clumsiness." "Well, your clumsiness found me, so I'd hardly call it a curse." My grin only grows when she rolls her eyes at me before spinning on her heel and heading back towards loot. I finally allow myself to skim my eyes over her, taking in the fitted black pants and the olive vest currently covered by silver hair. Nothing about the way she walks gives me the impression that she sleeps on the streets, though her ragged clothes and busted bottom lip tell me otherwise. I run a hand over my face, realizing I've been staring at her far too long. So, I turn around and begin heading down another small alley. Now quiet in the setting sunlight, my thoughts occupied with the fact that I may have just let an ordinary walk free. But I'm not distracted enough to miss the four large shadows rising up in the alley behind me. "Listen," says a gravelly voice belonging to the men behind me. "All we want is that pretty pouch of coins on your belt. Hand it over, and no one needs to get hurt." I huff out a sigh, pressing the heels of my palm in my eyes. This day just keeps getting better and better. That's when I feel it. With my attention finally on the coin pouch at my side, I suddenly notice how much lighter it feels than before. Before her. Why, that little... A shadow shifts on the wall, lurching towards me. I spin around, ducking under the man's punch before landing one of my own on his stomach. With a grunt, he doubles over, coughing, while I take in the others. 2 brownies? Oh, yeah, 2 brownies, a blazer, and a crawler. Only the most desperate defensive and offensive elites find their ways to the slums to beat down beggars for the few coins they have. With that in mind, I let the blazer's powers seep into me, and I let the flames flicker over my wrist. Another brawny comes charging at me with a smile. They're always so cocky, and that's coming from me. I crouch low, right before he collides with me, his momentum sending him rolling over my back to land hard on the cobblestones. My flaming fist connects with the jaw, and the sickening stench of burned flesh seeps into my nose. I look up to see the crawler scaling the wall, intending to drop on top of me and pin my body to the ground. As he leaps from where he clings to his bricks, I drop Blazer's power and take on Brawny's. Now my supernaturally strong fist meet the crawler's stomach in midair, and he's thrown backwards against the wall before falling to the ground with a thud. The blazer stalks towards me, his mouth curled into a snarl. He chucks a ball of fire in my direction. I leap to one side to avoid it, but not quickly enough. I curse colorfully as the fire scorches the outside of my bicep, burning my flesh and slowing me with pain. My mind is racing nearly as fast as my heart. I can't get close to him when he's forcing me to play defense and dodge his fire, but I know if I start throwing back, we'll most definitely burn down the street. I am not in the mood for this. I let the crawler's power quite literally crawl to the surface before grabbing a hold of it. Dodging balls of fire as I go, I run up the side of the alley wall and along the building until I'm parallel with him. In one swift movement, I leap from the wall, tackling him to the ground before quickly switching powers to raise a flaming fist at his face. You're Prince Kai, he stammers. The future enforcer. Being so close, he's finally recognized me and my ability, now clearly regretting his decision to jump. The prince. Unfortunately for you, I am. I cock back my blazing fist. A piercing pain cuts through my skull like a dull knife. The blazer's power flickers out, and I'm unable to do anything but clutch my pounding head, panting from the pain. I've grown very familiar with torture over the years, but this is like nothing I've ever endured. Though the haze of agony clouding my vision, I see a tall figure step into the alley. His hand is raised towards me, face grim, thin lips pulled downward in a scowl. Silencer. Impossible! My thoughts scatter, leaving nothing but pain to ponder. The silencer smothers my powers, smothers me. They can do more than just strip you of your ability, making you no more than an ordinary. He's incapacitating me. My mind, my ability, my body. My vision goes blurry, spots swimming before my eyes. Fight it! I can't. I'm gonna pass out, die. Both. And there's nothing I can do to stop it. Fight it. I slump to the ground, my head slamming against the stones. If Father could see me now, I'm fading fast. Even with all my training, I've never felt so weak, so powerless, so out of control. I take one last look at the man, leeching me of my strength. I hadn't realized we've drawn a small crowd until I see faces swimming with vision. They have no idea who I am. An unsuspecting audience to watch me drift into darkness. Or worse, maybe they do know who I am. Maybe they're celebrating at the sight of the monster finally being put down, put out of his misery. And then something catches my eye. I blink the blurriness long enough to see something glit in the light behind the silencer. The sun reflecting off of the mass of silver hair.